Good evening. I'm Emily Calandranis, the Community Engagement Manager for the National Cyber League, and I am thrilled to welcome you all to the Spring 2023 Award Ceremony. This evening, we will begin the festivities with opening remarks from the NCL Commissioner. Shortly after, we have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Ashley Podrosky from Dakota State University as our special guest speaker. We will then announce the top individual and team winners and share about our awesome Spirit Week events. After we wrap up the ceremony, we encourage you to stay for the Game Creator Q&A hosted by Cyber Skyline's Toby Lin. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Dr. David Zajic, the NCL Commissioner. Take it away, David.
All right, thank you so much, Emily, and welcome everybody to today's awards ceremony. This isn't just a congratulations to the winners, but it's a congratulations to everybody. And I do want to recognize all of the hard work and time that you, the players, put into this competition. And of course, the coaches that helped with you and on the competition and preparing you for the competition. And everybody else behind the scenes, Cyber Skyline, for the ones that are the ones that actually host our competition and create these amazing challenges that are definitely topical and help prepare you for a cybersecurity career. So thank you to everyone. And just a quick mention that at the very end of this award ceremony, you will be able to talk to some of those creators, the ones that came up with those NCL challenges. So stay tuned for that after the award ceremony. All right. With that said, I'd like to go and introduce Dr. Ashley Podrosky and thank her first for her time and joining us today. Ashley is the Vice President for Research and Economic Development at Dakota State University. She's also a member of the First Bank and Trust Board of Directors. In addition to her academic and professional work, she has a strong passion for increasing gender diversity in cybersecurity. She is the co-founder of CyberHer, a cyber outreach program which has reached thousands of people from K-12 to college age and beyond. Recipient of the MB 2017 Young Woman of Achievement, the 2017 Merrill Hunter Award for Excellence in Research, was a 2017 and 18 New America Cybersecurity Fellow. She was also named an American Association of Advancement of Science If-Then Ambassador in 2019. Wow, you've been busy. So thanks again for joining us today, and take it away. Ashley.
Well, thank you, David, for the introduction and for the invitation to be here. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the NCL team for their tireless efforts in organizing and supporting the competition. Your commitment to providing students with hands-on experience and opportunities in cybersecurity education and advancement is impactful. And the next generation of students who are going to be professionals in our field, we all owe you a debt of gratitude. Now, as your competitive season comes to a close, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the incredible work that all of you students have achieved. Your dedication, persistence, and passion for cybersecurity have been truly inspiring. And I have no doubt that you all have bright futures ahead of you in this very dynamic and exciting field. For all of you high schoolers in this competition, I was in your shoes just a short 25 years ago. And at that time, I was captain of my basketball team, and I was president of my computer club. And I played trumpet and French horn and all the things, softball, you name it. You know, I say that because you can do it all. You can participate in all the different things that you would like to do. Every experience that helps you grow into cyber professionals. It was my athletic activities that helped me learn teamwork. And that same experience that helped me with persistence, that you're not going to get it right away. You're not going to understand everything right away. And that's okay. But if you keep going, you keep learning, you reach out, you ask questions, eventually you will understand it. The competitiveness that I learned from those experiences is part of what drives me today. And it's an innate characteristic that I have. But the other side of that is kindness and compassion, because not everything goes your way the way that you want it to every day. And you have to have the ability to continue to keep going, to know that, hey, that's just today, tomorrow will be different, and work hard to get to what that different is for you. Now, throughout this competition, you've all demonstrated a deep understanding of cybersecurity principles and techniques, and you've worked tirelessly to overcome the challenges that were presented to you. I commend you all for your hard work and congratulate you on a job well done. I've been able to see the slide deck, and there's some really exciting things that they're going to announce here in a short minute. So congratulations. Now, as you go along and you see things, whether you're going into college or you're going into the career field, as you see things that you want to change, know that you can be the change. I was a faculty member and I was a junior faculty and assistant professor when I noticed that, I was usually the only woman in the classroom as a student. And now as an assistant professor, I was the only woman on the faculty. And I knew I wanted to change that. And so I worked to help other women who were instructors earn their PhD so that they too could become faculty members in the permanent faculty in the professorial rank. And from there, we knew that in order to get more women into the career field, that we needed to start at the middle school level. And so we started Cyber in 2013. And so what we did, we reached out to some sponsors, to some organizations around our community, and asked them if they could help contribute in a small way. So that way we could go out and impact students and kids in schools and host events for girls to understand what the field of cybersecurity is. And so what we did, we got up early. We went to school after school, and then we'd come back and teach our classes at the university. And in the fall of 2013, we had less than 20 women in the Beacom College of Computer and Cyber Science. And this fall, we had over 200. And that is incredibly exciting. And we attribute a lot of that growth to those early development activities that we did with middle school girls. I can't tell you how exciting it is. Last night, I had the Cyber Club over at my home to have an end of the year cookout. And to see all of these students that are working to help the next generation of students learn about cybersecurity and know that I met them when they were 8th grade girls, it's so exciting to see them as collegiate women who are competent and strong and are helping impact the next generation. And so I say this because I'm not remarkable. There's nothing special about me except a drive to help others. And I say that because you can do that too. So as you're going through your career, and if you see something that just isn't right, you want to see a change, well, be the change. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another to create an actionable item of how you're going to address it. And that's what we did with Cyber. So 10 years later, we've raised and written grants to about $2 million. We've offered, I think we've given about 50 students scholarships. We take our women all across the country for professional development. We have 2 women going to RSA next week. And we help our students advance and be successful women in the field of cybersecurity. And that's truly all it takes. So as you move forward on into your studies or your careers, I encourage you to continue learning and growing in this very dynamic field. But remember ethics and always act with integrity, both in your work and in your personal lives. We live in a very interesting times where sometimes truth it doesn't matter. But my field is digital forensics. I can prove things. I can show what happened. I can show the events that happened. And so that sometimes still doesn't matter. But it's important to always act with ethics and prioritize integrity in everything that you do. And when you can, give back, help other students, help other kids. I was once a student that all I needed was I had a technology coordinator in my school who showed me what the internet was. And I'm old enough to know that was just coming out then. And so that was impactful for me. So you never know when the actions that you do, the steps that you take will help others. And so in closing, I wanted to thank the NCL for all that you're doing to help impact the students all across our country at the high school level, the collegiate level. that all of the organizers that are creating the activities and challenges for them, and then all the students who are dedicating your time. You could do something different, we know that, but you're choosing to put your time into an area that's incredibly important and it's very impactful, and it'll continue to pay dividends as you go into your professional lives.
Great. Thank you so much. And those are definitely great thoughts for you students to take with you. And that was amazing growth. You have now over 200 in the program. That's very impressive. Way to go. And thanks for doing that. And let's see that happen across the board as well. So perfect. Thanks again for your time. All right, moving on. Some exciting stuff. We have our top individual standard leaderboard. So we do have 2 leaderboards. This is the standard leaderboard, and you will see the other one momentarily. So for our top individuals, let's jump right into it, Emily. 3rd place, we have Christopher Reed from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And Christopher earned 2,945 points with an accuracy of 96.61%. That is outstanding. Now, notice we did put how long he served this, how long it took him to solve these challenges, 2 days and 6 hours. That might give you a clue as to how close 2nd place was. So, in 2nd place, we had Lloyd Gonzalez from the University of Nevada, Reno. And as you can see here, same exact number of points, 2,945, same exact accuracy, 96.61%, and a little bit shorter time to solve those challenges. So that is our 3rd criteria to determine place, is time that it took. And Lloyd solved all those challenges, got all those points within 2 days and 5 hours. Congratulations, Lloyd, and congratulations, University of Nevada, Reno, for number 1. Let's see who it was. Hey, another University of Nevada, Reno player, Sean Adams, with an amazing total of 2945 and a perfect accuracy. That is outstanding. 100% accuracy. Don't know how you do that. That's just amazing. So congratulations, Sean. Congratulations, University of Nevada, Reno, for coming in 1st and 2nd place. Way to go. Okay, moving right along. We are now on to the experienced students leaderboard, our newest leaderboard that we have here. So we have 2 different ones, like I mentioned. And coming in at 3rd place, we had Houston Hall from the University of North Georgia with another amazing point total of 2,940 points with an accuracy of 95%. Congratulations, Houston. 2nd place, Salah Abbas from Northwest Missouri State University with a point total of 2,945 and an accuracy of 97.44%. Way to go, Salah. And in 1st place, look at this. I recognize this name. He's been on the leaderboard before. Andrew Effenhauser from Clear Springs High School. A high school, yes, Clear Springs High School was our 1st place finisher on our experienced player leaderboard with a total points of 2,965 and an amazing accuracy of 92%. Andrew, way to go. You want to come to Chico State? We'll take you. All right. I will now hand it over to Emily. Emily is going to announce our top teams and starting with the standard leaderboard. Go ahead, Emily.
Great. Thanks, David. This is really exciting for me. Usually I don't get to announce these. I only get to see the winners and pass it off. So let's see. In third in fifth place, top team is the Wolf Hack at UNR, University of Nevada, Reno. Congratulations. Your point value was 2,730. Absolutely incredible, with an accuracy of 99.07%. Congratulations to your team. That is an amazing achievement. And in fourth place, Red Ciphers at RPI, Rensselaer Polytech Institute. That's a tongue twister. I know David and I were like, can we get it? Congratulations. Your team had 2,755 points with an accuracy of 94.69%. Congratulations. And I see some ladies in that picture. That's exciting. Good job. All right. Now in third place, Ret to Rev, Texas A&M, with a point value of 2,760 and an accuracy of 97.27. I love this picture. And if you all remember last year, they had Gru as their team picture, and now they're actually holding the picture of Gru in the picture. So I like the longevity that we're getting out of Gru here. So congratulations, Ret to Rev. And in second place, congratulations, USRO, California State University, Chico. Woo! Congratulations with a point value of 2,716 and an accuracy of 98.17. For those that do not know, that is Commissioner Zajić's school, class, students. So that's why I've been the announcer. So congratulations to your team. And last but not least, silent drum roll, first place for standard leaderboard top team, the distinguished gentleman of UConn Cybersecurity Club, University of Connecticut, with a point value of 2,910 points and an accuracy of 93.16. Congratulations, what an amazing achievement. And I hope we have a lot of pictures and reactions of all the different announcements that we made. So congratulations to all the teams.
And another creative picture.
And another creative picture. We love those. It keeps things lively.
Yes.
And now on to the top teams for the Experienced Students Leaderboard. In fifth place, we have Bay Cyber Attack, City College of San Francisco, with a point value of 2,730 and an accuracy of 93.04%. Congratulations. And in fourth place, we have North Dakota State University with a point value of 2,760 points and an accuracy of 95.54%. Congratulations. In third place, we have BYU Siberia, Brigham Young University. Your point value is 2,760 with an accuracy of 98.17. Fantastic. Good job, team. And in second place, the former Gifted Kids. And this picture took me out, everybody. They're always fun to get some unique ones. Mm-hmm. The former Gifted Kids consist of Johns Hopkins University, Glenn A. Wilson High School, Northwest Missouri State University, University of Central Missouri, and University of North Georgia. You all had a point value of 2,840 and 100% accuracy. I mean, what an amazing achievement. And here we go. The first place for Experienced Students Leaderboard. SANS STI Sentinels Team 390 from the SANS Technology Institute. Point value, 2,910 points with an accuracy of 99.09. Congratulations to all of the teams. As I keep mentioning, it's an amazing achievement, and especially working together, collaborating, and taking the time to be able to do the challenges together and get such high scores and accuracy is just incredibly impressive. Commissioner Zajić, any quick congratulations for the teams?
Yeah, thank you everyone for participating. Even if your name or team wasn't up there on the leaderboard, you still are impressive. I know that you put a lot of hard work into the games. I know that students get very little sleep over these weekends. So hopefully you've caught up on some sleep since the team game and the individual game. And just know that all of the time and effort that you do put into these games really do pay off. And go look at that scouting report. Definitely use that scouting report in a resume. I know that hiring managers love to talk about things like these type of cyber competitions. So this is a great starting point, a great talking point when you are doing interviews. So the more you put into this, the better you'll get, the higher you'll get on that leaderboard. And even if you're not on that leaderboard, you are still making some serious achievements towards a cybersecurity career. So congratulations to everybody for all of the effort that you put into these games. Thank you so much for your time and effort with them.
Thanks, David. And little did you know that was a perfect segue to the next part that I'd like to share, and that's the NCL Spirit Week. This week we celebrated the NCL Spirit Week for the second time, and it really had just career-focused events for our community, and a lot of those events were centered around resumes, sharing your scouting report, hiring teams, recruiters, and we were really lucky to have 7 awesome companies join us for Recruiter Pitch Day. And those companies were able to share about entry-level open positions, internships, and share a little bit about their teams, which I think was a real incredible asset for our students. They also were able to share their contact information in ways that students can be able to network, which is a wonderful way to get your first steps into any career job. So with the Recruiter Pitch Day, we had 500 audience members join us live, and that recording is still available. So if you weren't able to join us live for the Recruiter Pitch Day, we definitely encourage you to check out the National Cyber League YouTube channel, and you'll be able to easily connect with those that shared on Recruiter Pitch Day, as well as connect with students on LinkedIn, and you can also connect with them on our Discord server. So there's just many ways in order for you to just start thinking about where you want to go in your career, who can you connect with, and Recruiter Pitch Day did just that. We also had yesterday 2 sessions of a career village. We had over 18 professionals volunteer to be matched one-on-one with students. The sessions were amazing. The professionals were able to go over resume reviews, mock interviews, and just share about what their daily career day is like, which I think is really important to have those insightful and real, authentic connections. And the professionals that we had were just absolutely amazing, incredibly enthusiastic, and really happy to share at the NCL community. We are going to continue to have career-focused events for our community. They might not necessarily fall under Spirit Week, but Spirit Week is just a wonderful way for us to celebrate the end of the competition season. And we encourage many of you to join us and let us know what we can do in order to give you the best experience in our community.
Yep. And recruiters want to meet you because they know that you put extra time and effort into the cybersecurity competition. So it does look good for you. So they are definitely wanting to know who you are. So please send some more of those career days and pitch days as well.
Yes, and we certainly are going to have plenty more. Just as David mentioned, they're excited to get to know you. And I know sometimes it might be difficult to be able to find who is the right person to connect with. So it's a perfect way for you to just have a direct avenue to all these fantastic teams. One thing I have to say is that we could not have done any of this without our Spirit Week supporters. And so I hope you're kind of gazing at this list, finding some familiar names. Maybe there's some that you're not so familiar with, but know that all of these folks are easily available to connect with on LinkedIn, but they are a big part of our NCL community. We encourage you to connect with them, share with them, ask them questions, find ways that you can also support what they're doing. These people I have the pleasure of working with multiple different events, different ways that we connect and we learn and share from each other. So thank you so very much for everyone who helped support the Spirit Week and just help our community in general. And certainly we have to give a huge shout out to our amazing NCL sponsors. CrowdStrike, CompTIA, and One in Tech allow us to be able to do the programming that we have for our students. They come in forms of mentorship programs, individual scholarships, certification programs, ways that we really can show an impact and give you the tools that you need to set you up for success for your cyber careers. Now, David, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you so you can share the brand spanking new fall 2023 competition dates.
Okay, well, good news is you don't have to wait too long. Yes, you got a little summer to wait through, but everything starts back up again in August. So August 21st is when our registration opens. Late registration October 7th. Late registration closes October 10th. And now maybe you should put some of these dates on your calendar just so you don't overschedule. The practice game is the week of October 9th through 15th. Individual game, definitely put this one on your calendar, October 20th to 22nd. And the team game is November 3rd through 5th. And our gym then closes December 15th. So our gym is open for several months. Again, a great place to practice those challenges because we do have videos and PDFs to walk you through how to get started.
And just in case anyone cared, my birthday is October 7th, so we will all remember that late registration is Emily's birthday.
Okay.
I take gifts in all shapes and forms. Send me some of those fun team pictures.
Yeah, perfect.
Terrific. And I'm going to go ahead and let you do some closing remarks, David,
Okay.
before we wrap up.
Great. So again, thanks everybody for all of your time. And once again, remember those scouting reports. Those are huge. You do want to include that on a resume because it is something that you can show as an accomplishment. And they're designed to show you what you achieve, what areas you achieve in terms of cybersecurity. So look at them. Maybe that will help you figure out where to align your cybersecurity career. And then once you figure that out, definitely put that on your resume. And as you can see, we will be starting up again in fall. So that'll give you more opportunity to hone those skills, increase those points, increase that accuracy. And this season, it looks like also figure out how to get some of those challenges done even quicker, because that is now our third category that we've had to rely on, which is how quickly you can solve these challenges. So thanks again, everybody, for all of your time and tuning into the award ceremony. I'm very happy to do this because all of the hard work should be recognized, and that's what we're doing here, is we want to recognize all of your hard work and achievement. Don't tune out right now because we do have another very informative session. And Emily, I'll let you go ahead and describe what's coming up right now.
Absolutely. So around 8:15ish. So hang in there, guys. We're going to go ahead and have our Q&A with the game creators. It's going to be hosted by Toby Lynn, and it's going to have the engineering team from Cyber Skyline. We're going to have a special guest, Chris Hasselwinkle. He's going to be with us and be able to share a little bit of insight in how the challenges can connect to real life experiences. So yeah, hold tight. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be the same link, so you can take a little break, get a drink, get a snack, and come back. We're going to have a really fantastic chat with the guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments box. And just as David had mentioned, thank you. Thank you for being here, for celebrating each other. These achievements come with a lot of hard work. And as the community engagement manager, it is so heartwarming to be able to see the teams, to celebrate them. And if you won or if you did not win, it does not matter. To us, you're incredibly important. We are so thrilled to have you be a part of our community and that you uplift each other and you really allow us to do such amazing things as a community. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you so much, David, for hosting with me. And once again, congratulations to everyone. And hang tight. We're going to go ahead and have the Q&A with game creators coming up very, very soon.
right, good evening, everybody. Let's get started on the game creator Q&A right here. So as everybody is joining in here, I'd like to into some intros here. So we have joining us tonight here, we have Connor and Tristan on our engineering team who are part of the folks that make the challenges. We also have a few more folks as well. They will not be joining tonight, but we'll be able to answer all the questions that you all have here. With us, we also have a special guest tonight. We have Chris from CrowdStrike here to kind of discuss how some of these challenges in the NCL can relate to some real world scenarios. If you've been here before for the previous season, we had Chris on last time as well. But Chris, would you mind doing a very quick intro of yourself, please?
Sure, it's great to be back. Thanks for the invite, Toby and team. As Toby mentioned, I'm Chris Hosmickle. I'm the manager of the Gold Standard service here at CrowdStrike. I've worked in the MSSP space for about 8 years. Got my bachelor's in cybersecurity back in 2016. And I'm happy to be here tonight and answer questions.
Awesome. All right. So let's get started with some of the Q&A, and you all should have a link to submit any questions for the Q&A as well. But we already have some questions that are submitted ahead of time, so we'll go through some of these one by one, and then we'll talk about some of our answers in here. So let's start off with the very first question here, which is what kind of stack do you typically put behind hosted web / enumeration and exploitation challenges? AWS, Azure, Node, Go, etc. So for that particular question here, it's more so related to game infrastructure rather than specifically the challenges themselves. We host everything on AWS, but I mean, just any other cloud provider, AWS or Azure, will do the job. It's just a personal preference at the end of the day there. So we use those particular cloud services in order to make sure that the game does scale, because every single season we do have thousands and thousands of players that are joining us. So when the games happen, we do make sure that those services scale up to meet some of the demands there. But depending on the specific challenge, they will be in different languages. A lot of the web servers, they are written in Node.js. There's also some that are written in Python or Ruby or PHP, depending on the specific challenge and the specific vulnerabilities that are present. But I mean, these days, looking at the web landscape, it's very JavaScript heavy. Lots of things that are written in Node.js, but we do still have a lot of programs out there that are using Python and using Ruby on Rails, for example, as well, in addition to some more PHP. Like one of the most popular services out there, WordPress, is all PHP. Last I checked, Facebook is still all PHP, their own variant of it. So there's a lot of very fun ones out there. Awesome. So I can answer that one. Let's talk about some of the other challenges in the Q&As here. Over the past 2 team games here, here's a question. There have been multiple questions related to Bitcoin and crypto miners. Is there an NCL engineer that's a Bitcoiner? And will Bitcoin knowledge be helpful in cybersecurity? So that's a super great question right there. And I think this is something that we can also get Chris's opinions on as well. For the questions that relate to crypto miners and Bitcoin, as far as I'm aware, actually, nobody on our team is super into crypto, I would say. We understand the technology that goes behind into it, but I don't think we're there. I don't think there's any crypto bros in the room here, but I could be wrong. But Bitcoin and just cryptocurrency in general is significantly impacting like the threat landscape that's available out there, especially for companies, right? Because before you had cryptocurrency and like crypto mining being a thing, the way for a lot of the attackers to monetize on a potential breach there or a potential compromise is by selling data. So it's by selling your social security number, it's by selling credit card numbers or any other kinds of sensitive bits and pieces of information, right? But these days, with the advent of crypto mining, you can turn cryptocurrency into fiat currency as well. You can spend it or you can use it as cryptocurrency itself, it makes it possible to profit, not just for fun, but also profit from any compromise. You hack into a smart fridge, you hack into a home security camera that has some amount of compute power, but you hack into enough of those, group them together, you then start to have a lot more compute power to actually mine some decent amount of cryptocurrency, and you can actually gain significant profit from it. So the past several years now, we've seen a lot of rise in cryptojackers and crypto miner kinds of malware, and also ransomware in general. And I think that's maybe something that Chris can talk about, just like, observing from industry trends, like what have you seen as it relates to cryptocurrency and malware?
So 100% I can echo what you said. I mean, every day we see incident response inbounds of people that are getting ransomed and having to pay in some form of crypto or another. What I would also add to it, I mean, I've had multiple customers where instead of them getting ransomed, what they do is they just get into the environment. And some of these, big companies have so much infrastructure that they can just hijack it, mine their own money, right, and just redirect it to their wallet. I've seen a children's hospital that had servers that actually got redlined and crashed because they were using too many resources because they were spending all day mining instead of providing health records. So we've seen threat actors do that as well. And one last thing I'll kind of say on the topic that's very interesting: if you keep up with the news, this is a new technology, whether it's blockchain or a specific currency. There's a lot of underlying technology that's going into it. All these companies that are popping up, a lot of them still don't entirely know what they have either necessarily, how to secure it, how to truly track everything that's going on. There have been multiple high-profile attacks on crypto companies, in addition to threat actors just targeting them because they're relatively vulnerable and new. So to answer the main question, is it useful to know? I would recommend, yeah, absolutely. Just having a general knowledge and understanding of what it is and how it works is a good thing to have. Are you going to be working on blockchain all day, every day? Probably not, but it's definitely good, useful knowledge to have.
Absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that addresses that question there. And you're actually free to ask any additional follow-up questions as you would like, and we'll see if we can get to some of those there. So, all right. So let's talk about one of the other questions here. Goes to the game creators here. Is there an interesting challenge that you've wanted to build out, but you think it will be entirely too large for a CTF? Tristan and Connor, you have any thoughts on that one?
So most of the time when we're building challenges, we're trying to think of like a specific vulnerability. Because of that, there hasn't been anything that I can think of that would be too large of an attack for a CTF, unless you start getting into like really complicated, like multiple node attack type things.
I definitely have. So one of the things that I want to make, and like what really got me into security, is game hacking. But from our point of view, it's a lot of effort to put something together, like a full game that you could like actually exploit and inject code into and things like that. So I would love to do that, but I think that's a little bit possibly too much for a CTF, especially over a weekend, something like NCL.
So personally for me, I'm super into like distributed systems. So a lot of the web challenges that you all do, for example, a lot of the times like those target one specific system. What would be really cool is to be able to target a distributed system and be able to exploit some of the peer-to-peer protocols that might be involved in those kinds of systems. So, but we see a lot of folks already struggling significantly with web exploitation challenges in particular, and we don't want to turn the difficulty up past 11. So, but it'll be really interesting to do something like that. So maybe there's some way that we can figure out how to bring the scope down a little bit. Chris, has there ever been any CTF challenges or just like things in general that you've been super interested in, or was there something that you like to see?
Yeah, so I haven't seen any in a CTF necessarily, but once you guys get into the industry, I'll tell you, when you see real attacks, it's fascinating to see the mind of a threat actor and the things they'll do. I think I may have said this last time, but we saw one threat actor that was dwelling for 6 months, and his primary executable that was dropping payloads was Spotify.exe, borrowed all the same logos and icons, put it in the right directory and everything. We didn't have the data to see how he got there in the first place, but we did see what he was exploiting and how he was continuing to exfiltrate data. But it was all through Spotify, or what looked like Spotify. He had it signed, had everything look like Spotify. The only thing is, if you double click it, there was no music program. So there's some fascinating stuff. And as you mentioned, distributed. Threat actors sometimes will hit one system. A lot of the time they land and expand, sell that access. So it can be pretty broad scope.
Yeah. No, I think especially something that's like a multi-level pivot, that could also be a very interesting CTF challenge. But again, the scope of it would get significantly more difficult for a lot of players. So again, that's something that we can explore on how we can make that happen. So let's go to the next question here, which is what are some effective methods to present my results, assuming that they're in the top 100 rank, to an employer, and how can the NCL help seal the deal for a position? So I will say, like, just by starting off, right, like you don't necessarily even need to be in the top 100 to start using your NCL performance as part of your resume, right? Like Chris is literally nodding his head right here. A lot of the times, like what you should literally just by participating and achieving any meaningful rank that you have, whether it's in the top, like if you're in the top 50th percentile, right? Like, heck, that's already better than half the people that are participating. That's already really, really good. So you don't need to necessarily achieve for that top like 99th percentile, just because that's a really, really tough, like by definition, that's really, really tough to get to, right? Because what a lot of times, like what employers are looking for, and I'll let Chris talk more about this, is really that drive and motivation. And then also to be looking at it from a perspective of like, hey, I'm a college student. I don't necessarily have a whole lot of skills with respect to work experience necessarily, but I can demonstrate that I participate in CTF competitions. I have the technical skills to really get started with this career. Like, even though you don't have like 10 years of work experience or anything, but that's, by the very definition for entry-level roles, you don't have 10 years of experience. So I'll let Chris also talk a little bit, if he's hiring for folks, what are some of the kinds of characteristics that he's looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the beauty of taking part in something like this is you kind of get two benefits. One, it shows you have some technical expertise, and you don't know nothing, right? You've proven that you have some technical knowledge. But really more so important is what Toby alluded to. I mean, you've got passion and energy for what you're doing. You're going above and beyond and doing something that isn't necessarily required of you. There's a lot of resumes I go through in interviews where somebody has a degree and that's it. You ask them why they want to enter cybersecurity. They're like, somebody told me there's a lot of money in it. And look, maybe they can do the job just fine. But at the same time, most teams are looking for people that are hungry and enthusiastic and want to continue to grow and learn. I'll be the first to admit I didn't get to do that many CTFs, but the knowledge was very valuable. But the best candidates are going to be the ones that are putting themselves forward and trying things, learning as much as they can. Because cybersecurity is more than CTFs. It's more than red team exercises, blue team exercises. It's a very large industry and a very large scope. And the more effort you put into learning and showing that, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm going to put the effort and learn and be somebody that's always going to try, that will always go further than just saying, hey, I was number one in my class. I mean, that's great. You learn stuff, but being able to show that energy and effort will go a long way.
Yeah. And a lot of it's also about like differentiation there, right? Like if you think about what a average recruiter or average hiring manager is looking at, they're looking at maybe tens, if not hundreds of resumes that all say BS or associates in cybersecurity, computer science, any STEM field, for example, and then list out, same courses taken across the board. What is the one thing that you're going to stand out to an employer? It is the fact that you are doing the non-mandatory stuff there. That's really a point that you can help yourself stand out. Chris,
just to add to that
there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the last time I hired a security analyst role, I think we had 800 applicants in the first 3 days. And I can tell you that, this is the sort of thing that should help get you past that first layer. I'm not going to say that this alone is going to get you, to final interview or anything, but I can tell you it's important, right? It will differentiate and make you stand out. The more of this that you have versus just, the cookie cutter resume, I went to school, I got a degree, I won a job, will definitely help you. It does make a difference. If Toby hasn't told you, there are a lot of keywords, like programs that get looked at by recruiters. And when you say things like CTF and competition, that's going to be in a lot of those keyword filters that recruiters use. If you put top percentage or you competed or things like that, that definitely will help too.
Yeah. And it's just really like a conversation starter, right? Like, as Chris, especially if you're interviewing for candidates, right? They don't necessarily have the work experience. If you go into interview with them, it's going to be kind of dry if there's no work experience to talk about. But then if you can talk about some of those CTF and competition experiences they've had, now you can start having a very meaningful discussion rather than, hey, what's the weather like, where you live? Like, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in those kinds of conversations and they don't move into the more meaningful, let's talk about my skills. Let's talk about why I should be working at your company here, right?
Couldn't agree more. And a lot of times, depending on the role you're looking for, there may be a technical interview. This is where your experience in a CTF will set you apart from somebody who's only gone to school. We've seen it time and time again. Somebody may have done a lab once or twice in college, or maybe they try to hack the box for fun on the weekend. Somebody who's actually gone through a CTF oftentimes has better experiences. And here's another fun little trick I'm going to tell you guys. A lot of times you don't necessarily need to know everything, but you just need to give the appearance sometimes that you know things and that you were willing to put, again, energy and effort and time and thought into your interview will go a long way. Again, nobody in this industry knows everything, so I don't think anyone that's interviewing is going to expect that. But the more that you can show what you know and what the effort you've put in, it's going to help you get in the field in advance.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so a follow-on question to that somebody else had asked is how recognizable are the NCL rankings on a resume with most cybersecurity companies? So for that, it really depends on the particular company. So a company like CrowdStrike, for example, who is a partner and sponsoring organization to the NCL, they're obviously very familiar with the NCL, do lots of fun stuff with us. And they do, when their recruiters look at student resumes and whatnot, they understand what the NCL is. I know a lot of the federal government agencies, especially around the DC region here, that do work in the cybersecurity field, they're pretty familiar with the NCL there as well. I would say that most of the major companies out there should be familiar with some of the large cybersecurity competitions that happen in the US, right? So for example, CCDC, some of you all may also be participating in that, National Cyber League, Collegiate Pen Testing Competition, PICO CTF, so on and so forth. There's also some folks that participate in the US Cyber Games, for example. Lots of different well-known competitions exist out there. It's not necessarily about selling the NCL brand, but it's really about creating that conversation piece to go in and let's start having that conversation and see what we can discuss, rather than for you to just be another sheet of paper, there. And so
I would just add to that, you could apply that same logic to certs too, because I get that question all the time. Like if you're getting certs, whether it's the SANS GCFA, or you start out with the Security Plus, or what's the other one? I'm forgetting, the CEH. Any of those, it's not about necessarily the brand or the letters. Again, it's effort, knowledge in general, not any one specific, because you're going to get different opinions from every hiring manager across the board. I might value something more than the next one. The best general practice is, again, give yourself credit for all the work you've done and show that in your interview.
Yep. Awesome. Great advice there. So let's look at some of the additional, there is. So let's do a follow-up question actually on this, since we're talking about hiring. So how do you get past the first screening phase in the hiring process, passing the resume submission, other than just role-specific keywords? What are you or recruiters looking for? Chris, do you want to shed a little bit of light on that? Some industry secrets?
Sure. I mean, the biggest thing I think I see students struggle with is they see the word cybersecurity and start applying. Understand what the different roles are. And a lot of times you're going to have to ask, whether it's asking the recruiter, asking people on LinkedIn. I actually get people that add me on LinkedIn all the time just to ask what CrowdStrike does and what my team does. I know it may be awkward, but I would encourage you to use the resources available to you to find what the roles are and cater your resume or your interview process to that role. So for example, I've worked largely in the MSSP space. I work mostly with blue team analysts and sometimes some engineers and content developers. I haven't touched the audit side or the compliance side, but I can tell you that they're going to look for different keywords than I would on the MSSP or the SOC side. we're going to be looking for things like, hey, I've worked in SIMs, I've worked on firewalls, I've worked on EDR, or I did a CTF, or I've participated in certain events and got a degree specific to this. So that would be the key number one. Beyond that, using industry specific words, I just dropped some of them, right? So if you're going to be on the tech side, using whether it's tools or labs that you've done, using tech words are oftentimes going to be included somewhere there in the resume. I can't speak to the other side, so if you're going to go consulting policy, but the same logic applies there. If you understand what those roles are, there's going to be certain things that they do. The word policy and compliance right there, those two are probably going to be words you'd want to include on your resume as well. That's a good place to start. Just try to get as many cyber terms in without just making every other word cyber. That usually will help quite a bit.
Yeah. And also just in general, having a good resume, like literally aesthetically, is going to be pretty important as well. A lot of colleges, universities do have career offices that are specifically designed to do resume reviews and to help you all polish up your resume. So even if you're like, oh, I don't like to do UI, for example, if you're somebody in software, or I'm not good with doing aesthetics or anything like that, we're not talking about you have to go download like a really fancy template or anything. Just some very basic stuff like formatting, margins, consistency in what the resume there looks like. That can go a really long way, because that kind of gives off very subtle hints about what kind of a person you are. If you're your personal statement says that you're a very organized person, but then your immediate resume, the next section, is completely misaligned, right? How organized are you really? When somebody reads that. And that's, a lot of those minor details, because recruiters are seeing hundreds and hundreds of resumes every single day, they will pay attention to some of those tiny details. And that could be some of the ways that you make it past that very first round. So definitely take advantage of the career office, like schedule those resume workshops, and we even did that during Spirit Week as well, where we had some of the partner orgs here help students clean up their resumes a little bit and give some feedback on their resumes. So definitely get somebody else who's knowledgeable about resumes to look it over. It can really make a significant difference. I want to also
fastest way to get skipped. I would just say that.
Yeah.
If a badly formatted resume is going to get thrown out pretty quickly. So don't waste your time if it doesn't look good. Spend the time and effort to make it look good if you want a chance.
Yep, exactly. And the example I gave earlier is literally when we were hiring somebody for a marketing and graphics role, one of the resumes that came through, the personal statement wrote detail-oriented individual, so on and so forth, right? And then immediately, I'm not kidding, the next paragraph was completely misaligned. So when we looked at that, for us, we said, all right, how detail-oriented are you really? If on your resume, it was not very detail-oriented, right? So a lot of those little things can go through, and it's really difficult on the hiring side, because when you're looking at these things, right, you're trying to decide whether or not you want to talk to this person outside of the few seconds or few minutes that you're spending on like a piece of paper. So anything that you can help make yourself stand out in the positive way, not stand out in the negative way, obviously, really helps. I also wanted to use this opportunity to also talk a little bit about perhaps how some of the folks here on the team got to end up working with us here. Tristan and Connor, you want to share a little bit about your experience and journey here? Throwing you two under the bus.
So I can start, I guess. So I graduated college and was searching for jobs for 6 months or so with basically no luck. But my best luck, what came from messaging recruiters directly on LinkedIn and working through the system with them, because they know a lot of inside tips and other things that can help get pushed through and help you get to the where you need to go and who you need to talk to specifically to find a different job that may or may not be public, so that you could get an edge up by talking to recruiters directly. And also, I know it's been said so many times, but just networking. So I got the job I have now because I sort of knew Toby and Franz from participating in NCL and then actually meeting them at a security conference at RSA after a competition that we had done. Just meeting them face to face, and so like they knew who I was, and so I sort of had an in to kind of like sneak my way in. So like when I was looking for a job, I had reached out to them and said like, hey, like, are you guys hiring, or do you know anyone that's hiring, and things like that. And now here we are. So that's kind of like my journey for that.
Yeah, exactly. And like Connor said, it's literally, it's so much easier once you're not a total stranger anymore, right? Outside of the kind of the superficial, hey, I'm Connor, hi, I'm Toby, and then we just kind of shake hands, talk and chit chat a little bit. Just that small of an interaction alone helps break the ice between being a complete and total stranger to, I remember Connor's face sort of from something. And then that makes literally all the difference to a lot of recruiters and hiring managers, right? It's like, oh, I kind of remember this person, and then they were memorable for whatever reason, and that might help you get your application picked up and moved along the way. Now, that's not the case for all companies. Some companies have very strict hiring processes that they have to follow, but some other companies, that literally might just be the difference at the end. Is the recruiter says, oh, hey, I remember seeing you. You said hi to me last year or whatever. Let's pull your resume and see what you've got here, and then we'll talk through it. Like that, a lot of times it's literally the very, very, very simple stuff like that. It's not about having the most impressive technical skills. Literally, some of it is showing up and saying hi to people, and then getting people to remember your face the next time that you see them. That can really make a lasting impression there. Tristan, do you want to share any thoughts? Or
my story of it was I did NCL while I was in high school, and I ended up becoming a player ambassador. So I met Franz and Toby through that, and I said like, hey, I kind of want to make challenges. So I did that as contract work for them for a bit. And I was doing college at the same time as I was doing high school. And pretty much the second that I realized I was on track to get my college degree at the same time I got my high school degree, I'm like, oh, I can start looking for jobs now. So I'm like, hey, I'm already doing stuff for this. I'm like, hey, like I know Toby had mentioned that like around the same time that I would be getting my 2 degrees, that they would be looking to hire. And I'm like, well, would you want to hire me?
Yeah, so Tristan came through the internship route basically. So a lot of companies, while you're in college, will have internship opportunities, and I know CrowdStrike has lots of different internship opportunities. And Chris, we'll give you a moment to talk about some of those, right? But if you're an intern at a company, again, that's the difference that you're a stranger versus not a stranger, right? So it can really help you get some of those returning offers after you are done with your internship program, and potentially return back as a full-time offer there as well. Chris, you want to talk about some of the internship programs CrowdStrike has?
Sure. I know that we have, internship opportunities both in services, which is, kind of my division, where we're actually providing cyber services to customers, engineering, the people that are building the cybersecurity products that we offer, and kind of everything in between, right? I mean, we do cybersecurity, but as I'm sure most of you are aware, all companies, Toby mentioned he is a marketing person, we have a little bit of everything. And sometimes just getting your foot in the door, maybe you're not ready for a cyber career day one, but working at a cyber company, I've known multiple people that started out in tech or tech support or help desk that will pivot their way into cybersecurity. And to be honest with you, some of them end up being the best cyber people out there, because they actually get to learn some system administration skills that I never got to going straight into cyber. So they have a different perspective and background. The only other bit of advice I would give is, let's say you're like in college right now, start early in your senior year. Ideally by, your last semester, you're already, trying to interview and get things out there. Don't wait until it's graduation time. By then, most of the big companies have probably already done their hiring, and a lot of times they'll hire in classes as well. The one last bit of advice I would give is go the startup route if you can. They tend to be willing to give people chances. You do have to work harder a lot of times, but they're gonna give you opportunities that big established companies can't, because they're just big. I know at least 2 C-level executives now in cybersecurity that started out as interns at startups that have both gone public. So, the sky's the limit at those companies. I'm not saying that every single one of them is going to go public and be great, but at the same time, the experiences you'll get there, I mean, myself included, it'll accelerate your career, and there's a lot of skipping of job titles that you can do if you can get into those.
Yeah, thank you for that, the insight there. So Next question, moving forward here. So someone asked, what methods do you recommend for team collaboration to use for review process and protect their accuracy? I used Trello and loved it. Just curious what other methods are mostly used. Connor, when you were at Chico, what kind of strategy did you all use?
Hopes and prayers. No. So we used Trello when I competed in Chico. But really anything like that. Like there's a site called Airtable, which is pretty similar to Trello. It's all like Kanban board style stuff. Just really anything that you're comfortable with, like Excel spreadsheets, Google Sheets, anything like that, just to like organize your thoughts, organize how you want to submit answers, and then have other people be able to go in and like have flares and things like that that says like, yep, I've checked this, I've verified this. Just really anything that you feel comfortable with. Trello is great. That's what we use. But anything is great if you can like make it work for your team. So like don't force yourself to use Trello if you don't like it, because you'll end up just struggling against yourself. So just use what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I've seen folks use literally just like a Google Sheets and just spreadsheets and then comments on the individual cells as a way to communicate and collaborate with each other. That has worked out fairly well for a lot of teams. If I have the full spreadsheet actually from, gosh, like the 2016 or 2017 season winner from University of Hawaii. Like they sent me the whole thing afterwards. They were like, they were just so proud of it. They were like, I just wanted you all to see what we did here and how they ended up with first place. So a lot of the teams, especially for team game, end up having multiple people review their answers before submission. So you have the trust but verify strategy effectively, right? You trust your team member to do it well, do it correctly, but you'll still come in and verify their work and make sure that they did indeed do it correctly. So we know that that's a process that happens. Some teams are even a little bit more rigorous. We've seen somebody, I forget who it was, somebody talk about how they have a democratic voting process. So a majority must agree on the answer before they submit it. So it can get really intense there, but that really only applies if you're really gunning for like the top 10, like some of the most coveted spots right there. For the very vast majority, it's more important, in my opinion, to simply get the answer and get the answer correct, and then earn those points forward. Because keep in mind that points are the primary determination of your rank and score, right? So yes, there's going to be times where you might be tied on the number of points and things like that, but you can't achieve a high rank with accuracy alone. Like if you get 100 points and you have 100% accuracy, that's great. That's 100 points out of 3,000 though. So you're still not necessarily moving up there, right? So if you're looking to achieve a really high rank, focus on the number of points that you can achieve first, and then perhaps another season of playing in NCL, you can refine on accuracy and that particular metric there. So in general, I would say focus on scoring the points and then worry about accuracy afterwards. Cool. Let me see what other good questions in here. So there was a question earlier about an actual challenge in there. Actually, was the auto key cipher in crypto and network traffic analysis an intentional question hint? If so, kudos. That was really cool. So for that one, in case people aren't familiar, during the team game, there was a crypto challenge that was an auto key cipher. And then also in the network traffic analysis module, there was a smart home PCAP that was using TP-Link smart home devices. So both of those challenges were created by me. And when I was originally looking into it, just doing experimentation on some like TP-Link devices and whatnot, I have found out that the traffic was not in clear text, but you also don't need to supply it with any kind of credentials or anything. So that got me really curious as to how the traffic was actually being communicated across. So I had found out that, the traffic was just using a fixed key XOR basically, but it was an auto key XOR, meaning that the ciphertext that gets generated is then used as the encryption key once again, hence auto key, not automatic, but auto as in self. So it's a self-repeating key there. So that was really the goal, and especially in team game, we were really hoping that people would collaborate and talk to each other there, right? So you can see, somebody just did the auto key cipher in crypto, and then somebody else can do the network traffic analysis one. So you could either decrypt that one manually, or there's also Wireshark dissectors that you can apply into there as well. So if you didn't find it and solved it manually, and you did it the Wireshark way, you can also go back to see if you can solve it yourself the manual way as well. So a quick question to Chris on this is, do you often see these kinds of like quote unquote fake ciphers being used by like protocols and whatnot for obfuscation ever?
Yeah, they do happen from time to time, kind of similar to what you're talking about. Just depends. I can tell you a lot of what you were just saying is stuff that we've seen in the real world.
Yeah. So yeah, because a lot of the times, like companies that are looking to make things for cheap in particular, like TP-Link is a very notable player in that particular space. Very cheap products, but they really lack a lot of the security mechanisms in it. Franz actually, some of you all may have seen him before. He used to work at a company that basically specialized in breaching those devices' firmwares for research purposes, of course. So there's a lot of these home routers and smart home devices and whatnot that are running with nearly zero security on them. And those are some of the prime targets that attackers go after, right? So we talked about crypto mining earlier. Literally, I'm not kidding, like smart fridges and home security cameras. Those are some of the prime targets for those crypto mining operations, or just for like DDoS botnets as well. We've seen that with the Mirai botnet, which was just IoT devices that really didn't have a whole lot of compute, but they could generate a ton of traffic, and then they can be used for DDoS operations.
Yeah, good story there. I mean, I worked with a company that runs apartment complexes, and they did this whole smart apartment launch. All their cameras, all their doorbells, door locks, all of that stuff had Mirai. And we had to go and clean it out. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. People buy it because it's cheap and convenient, and it means that you're connected and have smart devices. But smart doesn't necessarily mean secure.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, as you're looking at, and this is a potential relate back to some of what you all might do on a day-to-day basis, right? If you have smart home devices in your household, you might want to consider what are some of the security implications of those and what they can or cannot talk to. And that could be a really good way to learn more about security as well, is by setting up some kind of like a home monitoring system. And you can literally get started with as simple as a Raspberry Pi and then running your own DNS server on it. I know Tristan did that himself as well, and found some very interesting traffic trends, right?
Yeah. It ended up me having a talk at a conference in the state I live in.
Yeah.
I figured out how Roku's control systems work.
So there you go.
There's been an NCL challenge on that, because at about the time I was messing around with that, I'm like, hey, this is easy enough. It could be a challenge.
Yeah. So yeah, there's oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was just going to add, and even when you get into the more commercial devices, even the big names and firewalls and security tools, it still happens there too. Obviously, it's not as public, and they try to patch that stuff up as quickly as possible when it's found. But I do want everyone to know that like it is a real thing and a real threat, even to the big players.
Yep. Yeah. One of my former students, he works at Microsoft now. I think a couple weeks ago, he like dropped 7 or 8 CVEs on the DNS product from Microsoft. I mean, so just because the bigger the company it is, does not mean that they're more immune to security issues. In fact, if anything, they may be more prone to it, just due to the size of the organization, the number of people who are contributing code into it. So yeah, absolutely. But like I said, setting up some sort of home monitoring on your own. It's a really good way to gain some additional skills. Plus, also, it could be a really fun interview topic to talk about, right? It shows a lot of drive and motivation to be like, yeah, like, you know, I was so curious about it, I decided to do this in my spare time right there, because that's really the differentiator, like I said, for a lot of the entry-level students. Like, once you have experience underneath your belt, you can talk about experience. Obviously, when you don't have experience, it's literally about the drive and motivation, and that's really what separates people apart going in for those interviews. So excellent question. So we had another question on the challenges that we might have in the future. Are there plans for a machine learning exploitation category in the future? So it's really funny. So we reviewed some of these questions when we were still in the green room there, and we had said that while it is extremely topical, it is also extremely difficult to make that into a CTF challenge. Because with machine learning is like a 400 level course at a lot of colleges and universities, right? And that's not the become a master in machine learning. That's the intro to machine learning. It's a 400 level course in a lot of schools, and generally goes on to require some master's level education to really truly understand it. There's a lot of libraries out there that does make machine learning significantly easier, but for you to truly understand like what a machine learning model or algorithm is fundamentally doing, it does get pretty involved there. So for the foreseeable time being, I don't think we necessarily will have a full category, but we may be able to take some elements from that and incorporate it in some of the challenges there. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, to add to the complexity, I mean, if you don't know what CrowdStrike does, we sell an endpoint security product. When I get asked all the time, like, why did we detect some of our ML detections? You know, we ask the engineers, but it usually takes some of the highest level guys to actually go in and explain how that works. The only other thing I would add, I'm sure there are ways to manipulate it, but a lot of times they're controlling how that model is learning in the first place. So you would have to understand how the model works, like truly understand it before you could try to exploit it, from what I know. And I admit I'm definitely not an ML expert.
Yep. And that's the case, is a lot of people are, I would say, claiming, is probably the best word to use here, claiming to be ML experts in a lot of fields, and by no means am I a ML expert myself either. So it's a very, very complicated field. And like I said, for you to like really understand what's going on, you do need to dive really deep into it. I'm not necessarily saying you need to have like a master's degree education on it, but it's not one of those things where you can necessarily crash course over a week. Like it does require a lot of deep understanding with the math behind it, because it's a giant math model.
The last thing I would say is a lot of the concepts you guys are doing are how you would probably get access to the model anyway. Like, let's say you were trying to get access to the back end and actually get in and change the algorithm. You would have to use traditional conventional means to get to that. Otherwise, you'd have to do it externally and try to manipulate the model, which would require you to understand it. So the traditional way is probably the more likely way you would get into that thing. Just get into the engineer's computer who built the model and then mess with it directly on his system versus trying to manipulate it on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be way easier, to trick somebody to giving up their password to you than to try to break into, say, like, DoD firewall or whatever. So, cool. A couple more questions here on the challenges that we have. For the timestamp in the AES question in individual, was it purposefully set where a mistake in the time zone would get you the wrong answer? So the answer to that is no. We actually very much try to intentionally avoid things where you can be deceived into a particular answer. I know some people may disagree and they may feel differently about that, but I promise you, we try really hard to not deceive you into the wrong answer. You know why? Because if we deceive you into the wrong answer, we get support tickets about it and we need to answer it. And that can compound very rapidly when we're running a competition for so many people. So really our goal here is to reduce ambiguity as much as we can and reduce the number of people asking us for those kinds of like clarification questions and whatnot. But it doesn't mean that we don't want to answer them, right? There's a difference there in trying to reduce it so it's manageable over the weekend versus it being too much for us to try to answer every single one of those questions. So the questions that we try to ask, sometimes we don't necessarily expect some folks to be interpreting questions in certain ways, even though we try to think about it in as many different perspectives as we can. There's still just going to be some other way that people have reinterpreted it. And it's the very nature of cybersecurity is that hackers be hackers, right? You are trying to think about what are some different ways, out of the box solutions. And there's just going to be things that we didn't necessarily expect. So for the time zone on that one, the way that we thought about it, timestamps don't have time zones, right? Timestamp is UTC. So there was no time zone to consider. So the concept of time zone didn't even occur to us after somebody had raised it. Yeah, if they're in a different time zone or whatever. So yeah. I mean, Chris, I mean, this is it's the same thing that you see, working industry, right? It's just no matter how well you try to defend something, adversaries are going to come up with new and interesting ways. And that's kind of both the beauty and also some of the, minor annoyances about the industry, right? Is no matter how hard you try, somebody's going to come up with something creative.
Yeah, I think the paradigm has shifted over the last couple of years. I mean, maybe you have a different opinion of it. We used to be trying to prevent everything. Now it's all about detection and response.
Yep.
You're not going to stop every attack, but when it happens, you want to know about it and have a plan of how you're going to deal with it. So stop as much as you can, but they're going to get through at some point.
Yep. So yeah, and that's kind of echoing back to some of the previous conversation there, right? It's not about getting to perfection, because it's really hard about getting to perfection. And I think a lot of students in particular strive towards perfection. And I think that's a really, really good goal to set for yourself, to say like, hey, I want to do as well as I possibly can out there. And I want to like hit that 100% mark, but also being okay with it, even if you don't necessarily get to that point, and thinking about, okay, what else can I do in lieu of it? And not necessarily just saying like, oh, if I can't get to a perfection, I'm a failure, right? So there's a whole talk that we can have about imposter syndrome, but that's a very widely documented issue, especially in the cybersecurity community. So we can have a whole several hours on that alone. So we won't dive too deep into it, but yeah. So somebody also asked, I noticed less stego as of late. Is this a new trend in NCL? So yes and no. For steganography, we've been doing a little bit more so in the trend of less guessing the tool, but actually doing the analysis on it. Because a lot of feedback that we got for steganography in particular was people guessing which tool that somebody used to hide the data in, which doesn't become super fun for people. So we've decided to take the route of it's something that people can analyze and they can see a path towards, rather than specifically just guessing the tool, trying the passwords on it, and then moving on from that. So some of the steg challenges that you see of late, you can analyze the images in particular, and see what parts of the image might have been tampered with, or how this could have potentially been modified in order to hide some additional data into it. And just overall, like, especially with crypto, you've seen like this particular season, AES became a huge topic and focus, because we found out that a lot of people don't know how to run AES. Just to encrypt or decrypt some information. So we really went like all in on just getting people more exposed to libs like OpenSSL and just the different kinds of methods of encrypting and decrypting using AES algorithms as much as we can, because that's kind of, I mean, as far as it is right now, that's kind of the gold standard in terms of encryption. So you should really get familiarized with some of the terminology and some of the modes of operation for it. So moving significantly into modern cryptography is where the direction is headed towards. So we do things like PGP, for example. so that we can get folks more familiar with how to sign and how to verify email signatures and things like that. So awesome. All right. So I think we will try to wrap this up fairly soon here. Let's say, there was a question that was asked earlier, is what was your favorite Easter egg? Connor and Tristan, do you remember putting any fun Easter eggs in this particular time that you really liked?
Less an Easter egg and more of a reference. I based one of the web challenges off the new D&D movie for its theming, but I can't think of like an Easter egg.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an Easter egg per se, but one of the guys that was participating from the college I went to in this NCL, so the web app in the team game, people had talked about, so we had two versions of it, like version 1 in the individual and version 2 in the team. And then from the discussions in the Discord channel that we're talking about the version 1, someone had made some like comments about like funny things to include or whatever, and so I threw that in, and I think that made him laugh. So I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of like an inside joke, I guess, between two people, but I don't know. I think that's fun. And like Toby also put in a conversation in one of the reverse engineering ones this time. So just like, I don't know, like be funny in the Discord. Maybe we'll put you in a challenge or something. I don't know.
That is the way into our hearts is with memes. So
oh yeah, Brian David's in the chat. My PGP signature was an Easter egg. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, that is true. Yes. So that one, I think I had after we deployed the challenge, I was like, "Hey Connor, by the way, I don't think you remember to scrub that out." He was like, "Oh, it's fine." It's fine. Somebody can figure it out and, I don't know, send me an email or something. Did anybody reach out and send you an email?
Nope.
Okay, it's not an open invitation.
Some people did guess my email for the like author's email, and we accepted that because technically it's right. So
yes, as you see, we use some secure practices such as signing our commits. So which is why we have those PGP keys already set up. So we try to practice as much security as we possibly can in all the various cases out there. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do, places where we add in Easter eggs, is really based on some of the meta chat that happens out there in the Discord, in the Slack previously, right? So there was a conversation that happened between some players about wouldn't it be funny if the team game RE challenges which just all like crypto miners and whatnot. So Austin, who made the challenge for that, actually put it together in like record time between individual game and team game, because we really wanted to get some folks to laugh at that fact. So we have put in the crypto miner challenge, and you'll see that one, if you executed the binary, it asks for GPU access. It doesn't actually grab GPU access, but the prompt was asked for GPU access because we made a joke about if Google Chrome ever asks you Cyber Skyline is requesting GPU access, please click allow. We need GPU access for no real reason. Just some funny meta chats that happens. So, and you don't really need to be in on those conversations necessarily to do better in the challenges. We try to make sure of that is that just because you're in on a conversation doesn't give you necessarily an unfair advantage, but rather if you do see it, you'll hopefully get a good laugh out of it from a long weekend, because we know it is a long weekend for everybody to be spending from Friday afternoon all the way until Sunday evening, where they're right with you, right? So because I feel like a lot of times like people forget about just like our side as well, is that as you are grinding through the midnight or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. oil, some of us are also awake at the same time, helping answer some of those support ticket questions, and we try to staff it as much as we can over the weekend, so we can try to get your question answered in a as timely of a manner as we possibly can there. So, so we
It's
just
good
want
practice for
people
the
to have
real
fun.
world. That's when all the real
Yeah.
incidents happen. It's always Friday afternoon, guys. Just to let you know ahead of time. That's when the threat actors hit every time.
Yep. Because they know, that's when people are going to be like, all right, heading out of the office, going on, I don't know, weekend trip, climbing somewhere. Now this is when we strike. So yeah, Chris, are you working tonight? I'm kidding.
Not tonight, but I've been there before, guys. I earned my stripes and did that stuff. I know how it goes.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think we'll call it here for the evening. So thank you so much, Chris, for joining us and sharing some of the insights that you've given here. We'll stick around for a little bit if there's any other lingering questions, but just want to be able to let you have a good Friday evening here as well. So again, thank you so much for joining tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, guys. Best of luck to you. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to answer questions if there's any follow-up, but you're in great hands with these guys too. So take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care, Chris. Yeah, reach out to Chris, network with him on LinkedIn and whatnot. That's a great way to get your foot in the door so that Chris is now no longer a stranger to you, hopefully. So we also see Tristan here paying his fair share of the cat tax. So
this is the real engineer.
Yes.
I'm just, he's the real brains behind the challenges.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll call it an evening. A lot of us have been awake since very, very early this morning, running some several other competitions as well. So we'll be calling it a night here. So I hope you all join us once again for the fall season here. Registration for it will start in September, as David had mentioned earlier. We'll have a slew of new challenges. We got a lot of great feedback this particular season around in terms of what people like, what people didn't like. And trust me, we're going to be making a number of changes that will reflect some of the feedback that you all have given us. So we really do hope every single season we're making it a little bit better in some ways. I know that everybody here that is in attendance really does care about the NCL and the experiences that you all get out of it. And that's what we're really here to provide, is to provide you all with as great of an experience as possible so that you can practice and sharpen some of your skill sets and go on towards into industry and do great and amazing things, because we know that you all are. We've heard so many success stories coming across. Like that's the motivational driver for us, is hearing people go out, succeed, and we're just happy to be part of the journey there. Like we don't need to take any credit at all. We're just happy to have been part of your journey. So hopefully when you are rich and famous, you remember all of us. So awesome. Well, with that being said, I think we'll go get some R&R for everybody. Thank you all for a phenomenal season. It was a lot of fun. The Discord was absolutely lit. So I know from our side, we had a lot of fun making the challenges and seeing everybody compete in it. And we're going to hopefully bring you all some more fun challenges in the fall here. Tristan, Connor, any parting thoughts, words?
Nothing for me.
Nope.
Awesome. Well, have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll close it out here. Stay tuned for the fall season. We'll see you all very soon, because summer goes by real quick for everybody. So, take care. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.